welcome back to the LEC. We're joined here with BB and Mickey as promised. Mickey, thank you so much for taking the time after that game. Let's talk about that game. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to reopen that wound. I would love to know from your end of things, besides his lucky socks, what maybe went wrong for you guys today?
I think just a lot of comms that we still struggle with. It was kind of like an ongoing thing for the whole split, and I think a lot of calls we made were just very rushed, and we just didn't really have the patience to do stuff, I guess. Like 2 times we just started out the can for fun, and then we all died, and then got out the can. I was like, oh, it sucks. Now we're a bit behind.
Yeah.
And then yeah, just like in later on team fights, I think we were just impatient. We really didn't have to go in, especially game 1. But we just kind of went in and died sometimes into the Swain. The Swain pick was crazy. And then, yeah, I think also a lot of individual misplays as well resulted in a stop.
The Poppy plays were also great, but how was it from your end being on that Swain? Because that was pretty disgusting.
I mean, for me, like with Swain, I always have to hope the enemy is fighting me, because otherwise my champ is not great. Mickey was doing a great job ulting me out in some of the fights. And then the fight is like, it gets pretty hot when I get like peeled off. Like Mel also hits sometimes the E on me, and then I feel like I was AFK. I got like an AFK warning on my screen. But we managed to kill Mickey a couple of times that game. He was playing very far forward. He can't counter the Leona flash Q.
I like the buff mercs.
Yeah, it's coming next patch. But yeah, it was a great game. I think Mickey put it well. I feel like they trolled a bit in the Atakan. We trolled a bit in Atakan as well in week 1. You know, I feel like now it's their learning time for them. So they will definitely come back stronger. I believe it.
Oh, that's actually a really nice thing to end it with. Like, they'll come back stronger. I would also, you touched upon Mel, and obviously you guys had Humanoid on Mel. I would love to hear your opinion about that champion, because you guys on G2, already twice you've let that champion go through. You always seem to be answering with the Aurora. How does it feel to have Mel on your team? Because it didn't feel like as a champion it was necessarily doing a lot.
Yeah, I mean, as well from the game, it was pretty useless. So maybe it's just very weak and needs some buffs. No, but I think overall it's like a pretty strong champion, and it can also be played in multiple roles. I think that's where the strength comes from. And I think, yeah, W spell, pretty strong overall, as you said. The Swain E got reflected a few times, so it's pretty strong. And I guess Ezreal as well should have a hard time playing against it.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall I think it's just a pretty good pick.
Speaking of the Ezreal, Hansama is going to get the Kia Player of the Game. So on your team, you know, you want to talk about being on a team with a player like Hansama, who won that Ezreal game, kind of carried.
Yeah, I mean, when he was doing the Ezreal play on the bot lane, I was imagining, you know, Son Goku when he's doing like the super focused, how's it called?
Ultra Instinct?
Ultra Instinct. I thought that was Hansama for that minute. You know, I was like, he's hitting everything. It's like I was just like a spectator, you know, because I got one shot by Mickey. Like he stunned me into the wall, I couldn't play. And then it was like kind of like a 3v5 fight. Like Caps was even late to the fight, so like Ezreal was like, he was actually very like he was barely talking that fight, and I felt like he was going Ultra Instinct mode, so it was crazy. Very deserved in my opinion. He clutched it out in the game 1. I think if he doesn't clutch that fight, we probably lose. I think so. Props to him.
Yeah, he was in the flow state, for sure. But you know, we have another game today, right? KC, MKOI.
Yes.
Do you have a? Would you love to throw a prediction?
I would love to. Yeah,
who do you want to go up against?
I would love to throw a prediction without offending any community, of course. I would say it's going to be a close series with Myrwn stomping a game with a counter pick that no one expects. That's why I'm going to say 2-1 for obviously KC, right? Why? Why, you ask me? That's very obvious. Because I think Yike has been on a rampage, especially on some champions, right? He still did not pick out the Belveth.
Still waiting.
And we all know in Fearless, these picks can go through, not through the draft, but like through the champ select, where we pick it.
Okay,
yeah,
the real pro players are here, huh? Okay,
let's get out.
Get out. We have a pre-game to do.
Thank you, guys.
Managed counseling is that way, so I hope I see you guys soon. Okay, we're here to talk about KCOR versus MKOI because
we are.
Yeah,
because
I mean, he was stating my point so well. I was fuming.
It's almost as if you guys play like the same lane, same game.
True,
maybe hint the jealousy was there. I mean,
maybe.
Which coincides, you know, with what the thing I was most excited about today is, you know, Myrwn on a funny champion, just like BB said, you know, is the universal top lane, the top lane analysis point. Yesterday, didn't really go so great. I feel like the Karma took a little bit to ramp up, and that was his, his one token to, have a funny game and have big impact. He pulled it up together towards later points of the game, but I still would like to see a little bit more impact because for me, he is one of the most, important people going into today's match, especially against Canna, who has been no slouch in the top lane. I feel like he's probably, one of the better top laners in the league right now, and it's hard to find advantages like this against him. So that's why I think it's going to be even bigger challenge for Myrwn going into today.
Impact in what sense? Do you want him to take away pressure from the rest of the team? Do you want him to put pressure on the enemy team? Like, what would the impact for the top laner here be?
So every time Myrwn was doing very well historically was when he would bring a matchup that no one was really experienced against, and that's, I feel like, when he was thriving and he made a name for himself in MKOI, and I feel like he hasn't really done that this split given the fact that Ambessa and Kai'Sa have just been so OP. And we saw a little bit that with Karma. So this is the direction I would like to see him go forward.
You have...
Well, I think Casey is going to stomp. I think Vladi is going to gap Jojo like there's no tomorrow. I think all of KC will just camp mid. And, I mean, we already saw what happened last time Caliste and Targamas faced off against Supa and Alvaro in EU Masters. And boy, oh boy, it was not pretty because they made fun of him. And that was the big potential where all of people saw that Caliste was going to be great. And I think his showing so far in LEC has proved that. And I think he's just getting better and better.
Okay, are you done glazing?
But everybody's getting better and better.
I mean,
he started already high, and he's improving faster than the others.
Yeah, but
not everybody gets better and better.
Every team you've been voting for today did not do well, so
that's
I'm just
one sample
like,
size. One sample size.
It's like still 50%.
What? It's one.
Like one out of two?
Okay, and now enough glazing. You're just living in the past. You took one series against an MKOI.
Well, also last time KOI and KC faced off each other in this split, Jojo went like 0-9 on Ahri.
Yeah, and it was a best of one, and it was a throw. Come on.
It was a throw?
Yeah, it was. They had 7k goal lead, and then Elyoya walks into enemy jungle, gets caught, and dies.
Yeah, but it happens once. It could happen again.
No, but come on. Consistently, I feel like MKOI is finding better ways to win the early and the mid game. I feel like even though Targamas has leveled up massively, he was probably one of the most hated people, in the community right now, given his previous performances. I feel like he has been a rising star for this K Corp, silent hero in that sense. I feel like he leveled up massively, but at the same time, I don't really feel like K Corp is really there yet in the sense of the synergy between Yike and Targa as Alvaro is with Elyoya at this split. I feel like they've been consistently finding early game pressure points, and coupled with Myrwn and Jojo's, even though he's maybe underperforming, I still feel like he brings what they need to, and he's a good catalyst for the team. So for me, MKOI is just a lot more aggressive in the early mid game, and I feel like they have more consistent ways to get the win.
I respect your opinion, but
I reject it.
Pick an aggressive ADC for Caliste and camp Jojo, and you got yourself a KC win.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for your great insight onto which teams you're going to win. Not biased at all. We're ready to be heading over for Karmine Corp going up against MKOI. So Nymaera and Initialise, what are your opinions on this topic?
I have so many opinions.
So many?
So many. I don't even know where to start, so I'm not going to. Alex, do you want to take it?
Absolutely can. I love that we are following El Clasico with El Clasicoi.
Yes.
We wish out to ask if they had a name for the rivalry. Turns out they do. There are so many hyped up matchups in the LEC, but I think we have the two best of the best here in terms of the name brand rivalry and orgs.
It is the new age of rivalries. Spain v France, Camero v Ibai, Movistar KOI versus Karmine Corp. The fans have been nothing but ecstatic to see this one come back as a real nice way to round out our week 4 here in the LEC.
And I love that we're now seeing these teams in a best-of series with Fearless after coming off of the back of 2 very good wins yesterday. They were 2-0s, and even though, there wasn't that much gameplay, it wasn't a 3-game series, I think they were informative 2-0s. We had 1 game each where both these teams got a Caliste game, they stomped, and they managed to take through an early lead through to a late game closeout. Second game of both these teams' series yesterday, they had to problem solve a little bit more. I'm glad we got to see that, and that they weren't just a team that has to play to plan A, and they don't have something in the back pocket if something goes wrong. Now the question is, if they both turn up as they did in game 1 yesterday, what happens when all the fireworks go off?
Are you telling me we might get a game 3?
I think it would be best for everyone involved if we did. But Sam, the problem is we promised that, we had GT Fnatic earlier.
Yeah,
we haven't had that yet. We have not quite got ourselves that elusive game 3 to show ourselves a little bit more depth in the Fearless system.
And indeed, it is Fearless. Again, we'll come on to that a little bit as we go on in. We'll see. Basically, any champion that is picked is banned for the rest of the series.
Yes.
That's definitely more problematic
both
come
teams.
Game 3. That's a good important note. We are in the draft here for Game 1 of El Clasico, as it has been dubbed by the various fan bases. I just love that name. Thanks, Law, for finding that one out for us. She went and looked it up for us. Went and hunted it down. But yeah, first ban out, it will be the Rel for Karmine Corp.
I think it's really important that Karmine Corp are on the blue side, because there are some questions about what do you do with bans. Do you have to ban out the Skarner and the Caliste and something like a Corki or a Rumble? Too many power picks to really put through on that red side. It's one of the reasons why a lot of teams are always choosing that blue side.
And we just saw a win against the Skarner just last series.
True.
It was pretty spectacular. It's not something we've seen a huge amount of, but Movistar KOI, at least Game 1, don't want to give it up. Caliste banned away. Both Supa and Caliste have popped off on the champion, so understandably just getting it off the board makes some sense.
I think anything like the Caliste, which kind of negates your power in the 2v2 because you just have to absorb that pressure, is something you have to be aware of. Azir banned away from Jojopyun. Reminder that both these teams can very much play fast-style League of Legends with stuff like the Yone as well in both these players' pockets. Desk was highlighting Vladi versus Jojopyun when they played in the regular season. Jojopyun had a bit of a difficult time on the Ahri in that matchup. This would be a flying blind pick, that K'Sante, nothing that really deals with that heavily. The Jace is the one real winning matchup against the K'Sante in the pro level consistently.
Interestingly, Canna hadn't played a game of K'Sante in the regular season. So this will be his first time on that champion. If he went to it and said goes towards the Ambessa.
That's what happens.
I want to look that one up just in
Look
case.
towards the other stream.
It's going to be given up, but that will
What it
also
does-
mean Vi on the other side,
Yeah,
probably.
and what it does here, because, you know, the K'Sante would have been a fine blind pick, but what the Ambessa does when you turn the nameplates on is say, okay, Movistar KOI love playing via Ambessa. You don't get to enter a certain range around them because they both press ults on you. It breaks up that combo, and I think now Movistar KOI, they see the Ambessa on the other side and say, well, we don't want to give Yike that champion either, breaking up this combo, which has been quite successful for both these teams.
And it does feel like a lot of top laners have been happy to opt into a K'Sante v Ambessa matchup, so we might see that one locked in. But Myrwn, again, known for quite a lot of champions, even if he hasn't been flexing as many of his crazy counter picks as yet. And a few options here. It's the Renekton being hovered, but it is just a hover, so we'll wait and see exactly what the choice is here.
Yeah, because the Ambessa, the Ambessa K'Sante match are well trodden now. At this point, it feels like both of them exist within the laning phase. The Ambessa can get some poke with the Q2 spam onto them, but both of them play more for the team comps later on because it really is just occasionally an all-out kill from the K'Sante. That's the map. That's kind of the extent of that matchup.
Shout out to the Anivia hover there. There's been one or two players who've been playing Anivia top of all things. Was it the Shy, if I remember correctly?
I know Zay's played it.
Zay's played it,
but
but
hey,
there's a
you know
few
the other
people
thing
who play
too.
some
You know the
random
other thing is too. It's always a little bit of a call out to Jojopyun against.
Yeah, of course.
What was it? It's like, man, I'm too young. I wasn't even born when this champion was picked back in MSI 21 or whenever that was. Maokai.
Good memory.
It was his first international event. Hard to forget that one. Maokai locked in, very consistent engage from Karmine Corp. Locked in for them and allows you to play towards a bit stronger of a back line, and Caliste on the Ezreal is definitely that. I like that. The question is, what does Supa go towards in terms of stronger laning champions? If you want those standard lanes, you can go towards the Corki, you can go towards the Kai'Sa, which is the traditional counter as well, and I like this. It was something that Dagda highlighted in our first series of the day. Vi and Kai'Sa together has really thrived as well. We talked about the Vi and Ambessa. Well, chuck a Kai'Sa into the mix as well to fly into that engaged target, and someone like that Ezreal only has one arcane shift to survive the combo.
Dealing with a K'Sante, a Vi, and a Kai'Sa or jumping for your head sounds pretty damn tricky to me. The Maokai can help, of course. A lot of zone control with the ultimate, a lot of CC to help try and keep your Ezreal alive, but it certainly looks like there's enough tools in there for Movistar KOI to try and catch out Caliste on one of those more tricky champions to lock down. Second phase of bans coming on through, though. It's the Corki away by Movistar KOI. Trying to get rid of that very strong champion would be a good option for Vladi. And mid on the other side, the Ahri, which is normally a great pairing with that Vi.
I love Vi, and I also love Vi in Fearless Draft too, because it's very relevant here, because it can unlock champions which only really want to be played with Vi or empowered by Vi, and it saves stuff which is a bit more fair weather for later into the draft. So Ahri's one of them, likes to be played with the Vi, can be played elsewhere, but seriously just gains more value there, so you can save something like a Victor or whatever for later into the draft. You have stuff like Taliyah, Oriana, which for me fall into that category too. Wouldn't surprise me to see, well, I mean, it depends, what do you want to do? Do you have a blind pick for Jojo? You could go for the Yone, go for another melee engager, and then go for support counter pick. That could really help with helping that 2v2 get a leg up. I think the bot lane is such a big focus from both a narrative and a gameplay perspective.
They have been two of our very best bot lanes in the LEC right now, and both have been performing very well, at least in their first series of playoffs. at this kind of week 4 status. A few fun hovers here. I think all of them would make some sense depending on what they want to lock in. I think it will be the Aurora. Via Aurora K'Sante, big teamfight wombo combo, add in the Kai'Sa on top, and you know exactly how they want to play it, and it names Die.
Yeah, it's funny, hop on a Goomba stomp onto the backline and someone disappears. Everyone doing the same thing on Movistar KOI, and I like that because it means that just everyone knows the win conditions of the team. It's on theme. You're picking the same color in the Magic deck. Karmine Corp, they will have to now blind pick their support. I think this is an important thing because we've talked about the importance of that 2v2. Vladi, though, potentially could pick something a little bit more lane dominant to the Aurora. Aurora not always the strongest laning champion, but I think with the changes to Electrocute, maybe that has changed recently on the patches. The Poppy locked in stops you going towards maybe something like a Leona or a Nautilus, which is more commonly picked with the Kai'Sa.
You can kind of help manage a lot of the dashing champions here. Pretty much everyone there has an ability to dash around, on the Poppy W helps with that. Add in the
double anti-dash.
Add in the Taliyah Unraveled Earth, and some members may end up dashing into a very swift stop sign.
Really is good chain CC as well. The Maokai ult goes through if someone's caught out by it and they don't have a K'Sante W. There's going to be a flick back from the Taliyah and potentially a Poppy over the top of
Ambessa
it as well
afterwards, yeah.
With the Poppy support, meaning that a lot of your dash supports, or things which make you dash, the Leona and the Nautilus hook, namely, going to go for the Braum instead for lane dominance. Kai'Sa Braum, not always the most intuitive combo for them, acting as an aggressive duo, but I think for the laning phase, just support matchup makes an awful lot of sense from Movistar KOI. Saving that red 5, Luke Skywalker's what it's called. Getting that good support counter to make sure they get a leg up in the 2v2.
So, Movistar KOI, big dive combo. On the other side, KC, a little bit more about the CC and denial into a bit of follow-up from the likes of that Taliyah and that Vi. And they're going to be trying to make sure that the dives that MKOI do pull off can be trickier than they would have liked just off their comp.
So, game 1 of both these teams in our upper bracket had strong 2-0s yesterday. One dominant game and one which they had to puzzle out on each side of the rift. Coming up against stiff opposition today in one of our most hype matchups in the league, right alongside G2 versus Fnatic, El Clasico and El Clasico in the same day. Aren't we blessed today?
Man, I'm just hoping we finally get 3 games. Teams, please deliver. I'm sure both sides of the fans are like, no, I want an easy 2-0. But for the rest of us neutrals, as many games, as much tension as we can get is what it will be delivered on screen. The Karmine Corp fans are absolutely out here in force. You can hear them loud and proud out here in the LEC arena in Berlin. It is pretty ice cold outside. In here, though, it is heating up as we head onto the rift for game 1. Chant game in LEC is just better than anywhere else in the world, it feels like. As far as esports are concerned, everyone's got a chant these days. It's great to hear. But hell, feels like everyone's got about 10 of them.
Yeah, I have to say I'm glad that the fan culture is starting to bring all of these hype to these matchups as well. There is the potential of a level 1 from the Braum doing something. Of course, that passive really, really helps you go for the invades. I think Movistar KOI would really like to get themselves the standard lanes if possible. That Braum into the Poppy seems to be important to their draft, and we've talked enough about that at this point. Very interested to see how the junglers prioritize which lanes to head towards as well. Elyoya, his early jungle pathing yesterday was really, really good, but Yike managed to also, in his own right, against Vitality, get some incredible early jungle leads, puts a ward up there, will spot the camp being started from Elyoya, and that is never a thing to be underestimated. Knowing where someone starts gives you a lot of information to work off of.
Of course, we've been chatting about this being called El Clasico, and these two teams have been the heart of a very, very hot new rivalry. And this is the head-to-head of the game score over the last couple of years, and it's been a fun one, for sure.
Absolutely has been. And you know, it's definitely in the favor of Karmine Corp, but it doesn't mean it can't turn around. It doesn't mean that Movistar KOI don't turn up with every single opportunity as well. Focus on towards this bot side. As we said, that Braum, wait to see exactly what they can do, because it has been picked so heavily for this laning phase.
It has, and both of these bot lanes, Caliste and Supa, have been turning up so well over this split. They've been putting up some fantastic numbers coming into playoffs.
Which is why so much of the focus comes in here. I don't think there's actually a role to which is wrong to focus on.
I agree.
I think it's very intriguing gameplay and stories across the map. Canna and Myrwn really standing up for themselves, especially after what they built in last year. Elyoya and Yike. Of course, with Yike moving on to a different team, nowhere really bad to focus onto. Looks like Jojo's taken a bit of a bad trade against Vladi's Taliyah champion, which he's put a lot of time into. A lot of success on that.
Of course, I remember casting Vladi when he was back in the NLC doing some crazy things over there. Of course, made a big journey over instead to the LFL, left us all and did fantastically over there before turning up at LEC end of last year, and has really kind of just gone from strength to strength from there, gone from having to cycle to a cafe to get internet connection to play pro matches to playing on stage.
If you didn't know that, folks, these players have grounded out every single one of them. Got both junglers pathing down towards bot side. No real platform for either one to launch off of right now. Similar HP bars, similar XP.
Both junglers doing the same path will be leaving their second buffs till last camp and just making sure they can cover for any early shenanigans. Does feel like both those lanes can get a bit spicy.
And that's why the TP's back right now quite important, because, of course, one of the biggest things in the early game is fighting for the scuttle spawn. And having that lane cryo, if you get it, means you get it for free. Now, with both mid laners teleporting in, they have full HP if you do commit to something in the side of the river you choose.
I think by the looks of it, Vi will be there just that touch earlier. I'm not sure whether we'll see a fight over. It looks like the Maokai saying, look, I'm not going to be able to get there in time. I'm going towards topside scum grab.
Yike choosing not to have any confrontation right now. I think that makes a lot of sense. You don't necessarily have the best early fighting champion in the Taliyah just yet. It's back for that tier. We'll be going towards the Terrace a little bit later. Just making sure that they get some vision down as well for the second clear of camps, which is important because that'll set you up for a little bit more information for your second jungle camps coming up. Elyoya actually skipping over the vision currently. Might just run into Yike.
Do it that. We're going to look bot lane briefly though as Alvaro will step forward, puts down the ignite to Targamas, who's used the steadfast presence, doesn't quite have the passive proc. Caliste did not enjoy the damage back though, nonetheless.
Wall.
Nice turnaround though, good call on the wall stun. First blood to Targamas. Caliste got the barrier and survived. Blood shot forwards, it doesn't work. And MKOI are fish on a barbecue.
Walls are not your friends versus Poppy. 2 kills in the 2v2. And this lane, which was picked with that support counter pick last, for lane dominance, does not get it what it wants. Caliste walking away with the 2 assists, and Targamas walking away with the 2 kills. It's a battle Poppy now.
You heard it on the desk as well, a little from, actually, Jojo a little low there, has got Alvaro respawning and coming mid, so not as alone as he might have been. Bunny Rabbit survives this time around, but you know, Targamas not had the easiest last couple of years. That got a lot of criticism from around the community. Now he's joined Karmine Corp, and honestly, he's been superb.
Targamas has been out there to prove some haters wrong, and I think he's been doing a hell of a good job of it in the series we've seen in the last day or two. See if he can keep it up here against their rivals here, and we'll get a replay, presumably
exactly
of that
that,
bot lane
yeah.
CVT from the perspective of that Prodigy ADC. Dodges out on that, and I mean, walls are scary against Poppy. The fact that you gets to play the barrier bait here too, that is a heartbreaker for Supa. So low HP, and yeah, you deserve that smile. Have a chuckle.
Look at that struck. He knows he got away with absolute murder there, quite literally, as they get the 2 kills and puts this Poppy ahead of the curve. Means that Targamas out on the map a bit earlier here. Can be looking to throw a buckler at Jojo, but the rabbit hops away.
You can already see, you know, that lane dominance from that bot lane. Targamas walking back with a Kindle Gem, gives him a lot of extra HP to work with, and now he's unlocked from the map from our first objectives. That makes a pretty big difference. The map's being split, Karmine Corp going towards Dragon first. Rob spawning in 10 seconds, so Karmine Corp giving up setup for that objective.
And we normally talk about both teams being very, very good on a snowball, but MKOI, we've definitely characterized as a fast team. And they are behind now in this early game.
I think this is a really good time to mention how the series yesterday went for both these teams, because both of these teams had an early game snowball which looked very, very similar to each other. In fact, we have ourselves a gold graph. These are the game 1s which happened, and they had a Caliste involved, and that was your early game advantage. They started early with a lead, and they finished early. And after that point, of course, game 2 was a little bit harder. It was the early game snowball which really determined that game 1. Karmine Corp have that right now, which is pretty scary if we look at the games we can compare from yesterday.
So the question is this going to be the game 1 where it's a clean snowball and the enemy team doesn't have much to say about it? Or is it the game 2s where the mid games become more of a knife fight? Canna roaming down towards the river, looking to get over towards this set of grubs, and Karmine Corp want both sets of the early objectives. They get at least one of the grubs. Elyoya around, but I don't know how easy it will be to come and contest as yet.
Especially going into the Poppy and into the Taliyah, not really where you want to be, especially before you have that Vi ultimate. Braum messes the Q, and that's a missed cannon roll.
Okay, well, it's going to be a public, I don't know, bluff is what it'll be, but still the turnaround is pretty good. Alvaro now in danger, getting shunted into a wall. Elyoya gets the grub at least, but Supa ain't feeling so hot and goes down. for a third kill to Karmine Corp.
Oh man, really, really good Taliyah shove from Vladi. Using that ult aggressively. That's one of my favorite thing about Taliyah players, when they start using that ult to go into the play rather than just using it as an extra bit of terrain for your garden. Movistar KOI. The setup not fantastic there, so now Movistar KOI find themselves down 2 grubs to 1. They do take 1 away, that's okay, but they're down 3 kills, which gives over the feats of strength. And they're starting to really worry a little bit about that, that gold lead expanding a little bit as it goes on.
Despite missing the public execution, Canna still picks up the kill as well, so cooldown burned successfully, apparently.
We'll be generous with that one. So, what is next happening? We have AD carries going down towards bot side. Both these AD carries pretty happy to go into a 1v1. Supa, sadly now being 0-2. Not being level 6 yet either. Can't really even play around that. Sometimes you see it in the... Well, it's what Kai'Sa was initially picked for when she came up to pro play. The level 6 all in onto the Ezreal. And when you're sat in a 1v1 like this, Caliste, very happy, especially with that barrier as well, will be safe farming up and allows Targamas to go somewhere else on the map.
And I don't want to over-exaggerate here. It's only 1,000 or so gold lead, just over. It could absolutely all turn around as yet. And Movistar KOI looking to take the opportunity to roam as 3, get some wars down, clear out some vision, and make sure they've got a bit more command on this bot side of the map.
Yeah. Movistar KOI, what they will be looking for, which of course gets harder the less resources you have, is that one explosive pick to open up some area on the map. In fact, they did that in their game 2 yesterday against BDS, where Jojopyun got a really good solo kill to open up the game onto Nuke's Tristana. If Movistar KOI can find themselves one of those plays with their ultimates coming online now as well, to break open one of these lanes, that'll be enough to see them to a little bit of a happier state.
So, got a couple minutes until the next set of objective spawns. The Grubs and the Dragons spawning pretty much simultaneously. See which one Karmine Corp will decide to start up first. It feels like they will probably be the ones with the decision to make with the way the early game has gone, and they're the ones it feels like who get to make that first move.
Really like that. Actually, that's a really nice thing there. You can just see Jojopyun hopping off that wave, and the vision control is really good here as well. May as well highlight that as well, just so you can see it. Some good balls just down here. Because if you're dropping out of lane, you don't want to be seen when you're moving there, because, of course, Vladi has his ult to follow when it comes off a cooldown in the next 30 seconds or so, but doesn't really want to be going to Fog of War against the Aurora and the Vice. You don't want to drop in there yourself. I'd imagine you're seeing very little right now. Actually, observers, do you mind if we just toggle onto Karmine Corp vision as we see what he sees?
Very much.
If you walk down as Vladi around that area where, of course, Movistar KOI, we know we're starting to group up, it is very dangerous to them. You have to group up with 3 people here. Vladi playing respectfully. It's dangerous to go into that Fog of War.
Here, take this. It's dangerous to go alone. Just a control ward given to you to put down in the river. League of Legends 3 confirmed.
Who's the person giving you the ward that's dangerous to go alone? Well, I suppose in this case...
How do I get Gordon Freeman into League of Legends? I have no idea.
Sam, you'll have to make a lot more calls than
That's
I'm
Arcane
capable.
Season 3.
That's Arcane Season 3. Is that it? Incredible. You heard it here first. But
Spoiler,
again,
sorry guys.
I know it's not always the most exciting thing to see when a play isn't happening, but I love just seeing why a play isn't happening there.
Because you can't walk there.
Because actually, it's really scary when you flick off the lights.
Vi there alongside Aurora,
that's
you would
actually
die.
why one of the most important things we see right now are actually just these controls, just down here in this brush. Fighting over that brush is really important for vision. You see Supa can also fall into a play too with that Kai'Sa if he flies out of Fog of War. So Movistar KOI using their vision control well to at least threaten Karmine Corp and holding them back to their towers. Vladi actually hasn't pushed up beyond the midpoint of his wave in a while.
There's that one ward in the river there from Casey, which will spoil Elyoya heading over towards these grubs, which are spawning in about 20 seconds. But for all I said, it'd be Karmine Corp's choice about which objective they went towards. It feels like Movistar KOI have made the decision for them. They want to play for the grubs.
And if they do, they'll be able to get themselves those might buffs as well. Hop out as well. Man, they have so many bunny hops, actually. Oh no, there's the Aurora on the other side. Ignore me. Dragon started up by Karmine Corp. They are going into a couple of those wards that we've highlighted on this bot side. Grubs on the top side by Movistar KOI. Splitting the objectives the opposite way to the first spawn of them.
Looks like, and it will just be the split of the objectives by the look of it. No one really wanting to contest, and I think both teams relatively happy with that decision.
Slower again than we sometimes expect from both these teams, and you know, it's quite... In fact, actually, if we look back to the first time these guys played this split, Movistar KOI got a little bit baited into big fights. Might see something here, as the terrain definitely favors the Poppy getting a wall stun if you do sit against that pit.
Nice combo from Vladi. Chunks about takes about half of Alvaro's HP away there, but the grub's still secured. Oh yeah, gonna recall in the back of the pit. She decides to queue over the wall, probably the safer choice.
As I was saying, the first time these teams met, Jojopyun was on the RE. He died 3 times in the first 10-15 minutes or something like that. It felt like, and this is something which I do think that Movistar KOI have improved on, and something which Karmine Corp have will find harder to do this time, is that they don't feel like they're being baited into some of the more frenetic games. Movistar KOI love to brawl, but not like Karmine Corp don't. In fact, they forced Movistar KOI to brawl in their first matchup, and they kind of...
It's on whose terms?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's on whose terms it is. The first time they met really was on Karmine Corp's terms, and they ran away with it. They still have themselves a significant gold leader to go into it. And once we get towards Seraph's completion, 2 items in the Ezreal, we'll see how bold Karmine Corp feel about playing through an advantage.
And I'm now looking some of those items beginning to get completed. It feels like first items largely in across the board. Still waiting for Jojo, still waiting for Yike to get completed. And as I see, there is the Leandris, and he has gone phase rush. He has gone towards the Leandris.
True, yes.
It's not just the full tank Maokai has gone towards that initial damage item, which actually gives you a surprising amount of DPS.
However, what that does mean, though, is that compared to, say, well, Movistar KOI played against a tankier Maokai from 113 yesterday, with the Heartsteel stacking up to millions of HP, you are going to be very, very squishy if you are engaged onto. The Poppy being fed helps you with the... Look, okay, I'm being generous here, but it helps you be a little bit more tanky from that role. But it does mean that Elyoya with the Black Cleaver first, if you find Yike out, he will get exploded. Karmine Corp will need to make sure that their phalanx is well set up.
Canna might find Jojo.
Jojo!
Forwards, Ezreal bolt flashes away from the public execution. The bunny rabbit gets away with it. How lucky is that foot?
I was holding my breath for a second. Goes invisible. The only reason he gets out there because he can't actually get clicked on by the Poppy E. That could have been devastating, but gets out there. Just losing the flash. He'll consider himself, yeah, as you said, lucky from that one. What this does mean, though, is that he's had to back off of this wave. No flash to stand under this turret. Just has to wait for that wave to come up. Canna shuffles away then.
Sweet plate's already secured down there. I think largely off the work of Caliste and Targamas early. Here come the rest of MKOI. They're looking to try and get towards Canna, but Drakehound's step is quite good at letting you dodge away a lot.
Yeah, while all this is happening, though, a lot of people just showed bot lane, and now we've got the push in top lane, and we've also got Taliyah uncontested in top side as well. So every time you make a play and you show people on the map here, like Movistar KOI, just gives an open for Karmine Corp to get something elsewhere. There's a bit of a wave being lost towards top side, and Karmine Corp are getting closer towards 2 item spikes, particularly for Ambessa and Ezreal. Huge moments for them, and they're happy that nothing is really happening to stop them from getting that.
Yeah, it's been a relatively stable early game, and once you hit the mid game, it feels like Karmine Corp quite as happy to manage that as MKOI.
That being said, I'm not saying that the 2-item spike from Movistar KOI isn't good in its own right. I just look at
Aurora.
Yeah, it's a question of perspective.
I mean, how often over the years has Ezreal 2-item spike been mentioned by casters?
Do you remember the 3-item spike when you had double tier items in Ezreal?
Oh, good grief. What was the second tier item again?
It was Archangels.
It was Archangels,
because
yes,
both of
the AP scalings.
Both of the mana went into both of the items, which was really not fair. It turns out both these AD carries have committed grievous crimes against Boris the shopkeeper over time. Actually, speaking of that, okay, bring it back to more normal things. This is going to be a bit more of an AD Kai'Sa, not going towards something a bit more poke later game, wanting to be a bit more low-range DPS from that Kai'Sa on Supa.
I think it makes some sense. We've got the Aurora in mid lane as well, asked to be more of an AD threat. This vision toggle again. Alvaro tries to buy time, but that door swiftly shut down. Targamas on a killing spree. 3 out of 4 kills going towards the support Poppy. Bloodthirsty indeed. Caliste hopping onto the Kai'Sa, I apologize. Supposed to be a counter matchup the other way around in mid-game. That's nasty stuff from the KC AD carry.
Yike. Tri-Brush has been utterly nasty towards Movistar KOI. They really struggle when that vision is down.
Hang on. Vladi trying to get a hold of the turret, does knock it down, but Jojo has now gone across the veil with the between. Wild flash on forward for the threaded volley, and Yike's there as well and picks up the bunny rabbit. It is webbing hunting season, folks.
Movistar KOI are trying really hard to push their way into these lanes, but they're being denied access. They lose a tower, they lose all of the kills in all of these fights. There's a Herald being started up by Elyoya, but it feels like it is just a consolation prize. They have not managed to get themselves into this game yet. And yeah, they have 4 grubs. They haven't been able to really use them.
Just got mid lane tier 1 as well. Here comes Vladi to fight over on this Herald. Alvaro in danger. The seismic shove onto Elyoya and the public execution just shy. But Canna now still in a good position to fight this one out 1v3. Targamas flashing for the heroic charge into the wall. Braum about to get caught up by a lot of very angry spectral roots. And Yike gets that kill with the burn.
Why are you positioning like that? You don't have Supa and you don't have Jojopyun. Really feels like Movistar KOI are grasping at straws, but serious credit to Karmine Corp to push the advantage where they can. That Maokai pinning them into the fight, as you were saying. Everything is coming up Karmine Corp, and it hasn't really been that contested. Caliste just knows he can start jumping forwards too.
2 turrets, 2 kills, and contesting the Herald afterwards as well. Karmine Corp got everything in that
You know,
last
it's pretty
sequence.
bad when the Ezreal can just tank a Kai'Sa W to deny you the cannon in the mid lane as well.
That's
It's the little
petty.
things. Dragon spawning now as well. Movistar KOI here in numbers. They do have their damage here. This time with their damage, they're taking a lot of damage.
Vladi is also the damage, and he just got it all onto Supa, who's now down to 10% HP.
Yes, you need HP on your Kai'Sa to be fighting, folks. Supa taking that chunk.
Ooh, two-shot barrage came flying across, was going towards Supa, picked up at least the honey fruit, empowered by the camera. Vladi also now had his Seraphs popped, overcomes Yike, wants to fight this one off with MKOI. Coming in force, teleporting back in. Between worlds, popped by Jojo, looking for a bit more angle. Targamas stunned up, might well be going down first. Kill of the game to Movistar KOI. Going to be donated over to Supa on the Kai'Sa.
So, Movistar KOI get themselves something finally. The soul point is there for Karmine Corp early into the game. That's still a strategic loss for them, but it's something. It's the first look in they've really had in this game.
We know when we're saying, is it going to be like game 1 or game 2 from that first series? It feels like a game 1 to me so far. This has been a very clean snowball. Only getting the 1 kill at the back end of that feels pretty rough for Movistar KOI.
And even though the kills haven't been on the Ezreal, the fact that the kills are happening in that bot lane, which we've noted as kind of the engine room for both of these teams, because Alvaro speeds up the team with the Movistar KOI because he's so good at combining up with the map. But Targamas having a great split himself so far. Just the fact that the lane is ahead, even if the gold is not directly on the Ezreal, really helps Karmine Corp organize the map like this, and it feels really unfun to play against if you're Movistar KOI.
And we're looking at something like somewhere between 600 and 1,500 gold individual advantages across the board here for Karmine Corp. It's a 1.2k advantage to this Poppy, and there was a joke a year or two ago where Poppy was full build at level 3 with a red buff. A support Poppy with Bloodsong, with Locket completed, ahead of the curve in terms of experience, as well as feeling really, really good this game. You get a lot of value out of just that, Yike, and the early kills.
Very, very happy Poppy there. Karmine Corp going to reclaim the vision which Movistar KOI just put down in the river. Red buff taken by them. Herald, of course, was taken earlier, and Yike has that now in inventory if they want to use that to... Well, I mean, they've taken all the outer turrets.
Yeah, so it's a deeper push required.
Normally I'm sat thinking, oh, you could use the Herald to break up a mid lane turret.
Went down,
that one's done. So Herald feels like their job's a little bit in danger right now.
He's made redundant. What are we doing with a redundant Herald?
Yeah.
What's Herald's other occupation availability?
That's a great question.
Is it any good at desk work?
I feel like Atlas would know what Shelly does on their days off. Maybe we can go ask him when we
hit
get
up the LCK crew,
That we can. Some important items to go through as well. If you are looking for a turnaround play, you now have to get through the 2 defensive items of Vladi. Vladi can play very aggressively if he wants to with his ultimate, with the Seraphs and that Seeker's Arm Guard in. And I love this as well. You use this a lot with Stopwatch. You would buy the Stopwatch and then build towards the item you actually want. Because if you know the 1 activation instead of the 2, 3 Zhonyas you can get is important for 1 big fight, why spend the extra gold on the full Zhonyas? Go towards the pen instead. Movistar KOI, if they're looking for that 1 shotgun blast onto the carries, it's not going to help.
Oh, and a Q afterwards as well. Supa right back down to 20% HP. This Kai'Sa has struggled to keep the HP totals high because KC have managed to land a number of key skill shots. Elyoya's just found Canna. There's a turnaround as Yike comes across with the Nature's Grasp. The Vi is experiencing violence. Atakan's just spawned, and you have those spites.
No smites. Elyoya uses the flash to try and escape, but it is to no avail. Karmine Corp have done it like the tutorial, and while all this is happening, Vladi has teleport. Doesn't feel any need to press it towards the top side of the map. He's going to take an inner turret for himself as well. This is textbook League of Legends. Karmine Corp going from moment to moment on the map, getting control of an area and locking Movistar KOI out of it.
Winning on both sides of the map, you get the kill, you get the Atakan, all the while your Taliyah isn't even there. This game is looking exceptionally one-sided. It has done, really, since the early moments when that Poppy got the double kill. Vladi picks up a blue buff on the way out to add a little insult to injury, and Karmine Corp, I mean, at this point, it's their game to lose.
And this is a perfect timing for Karmine Corp to look for one of those aggressive fights now. They've been playing around the objectives first and foremost, really, but you've hit the 2 items on the Ezreal, you've hit 2 items on the Ambessa, which we highlighted earlier, you have a free GA, there's a minute until the Dragon, you can fight with the Atakan for the soul in a minute. This is about worst case scenario when it comes to this. Normally I'd say, oh, it's about the Baron, you can use it to go into that. Because the Dragon and the Atakan have been taken so regularly by Karmine Corp, they can fight for a soul on the earliest possible timing with a free GA. That is not fair.
And you've just had Caliste Romana transform as well. You've got 2 items everywhere else you look. That's Void Staff has been completed with Vladi while they've still got the arm card activation. There's everything up and available. They've not even got a flash blown aside from Yike, who I suspect by the time Dragon's up will be available.
And while this is happening, helping with the setup, the Herald just forcing Movistar KOI to respond in mid lane. Ezreal keeps firing out Qs because he absolutely can with those. Turret might even just die here. Movistar KOI, what is your answer?
Picture in picture, there's a 1v1 happening. The public execution buffered through with the all-out. I think they will get the withdrawal. Nice 1v1 by Myrwn, but it's a feel-good moment. It's not actually a proper kill. And all the while, mid lane, Targamas looking to try and get across Elyoya, who's shoved back into a seismic shove. Oh! Cease and desist is just vibing deceased. Nature's Grasp comes across to teleport in from Jojo to his own tier 3 to try and join the fight. Goes across the veil and between worlds, but that rabbit is being hunted again, can go nowhere but an early grave.
That is a very, very sad Jojopyun who just can't make those big plays because there's just no one left to follow them up. You don't have that vial. It feels bad watching these individual plays kind of coming out from Movistar KOI because they just don't have the setup, the stats, or the teammates with enough HP sat behind them. Every time on screen we see them, feels like someone's getting chunked out by an Ezreal ult. The Ezreal kid's Caliste has been an absolute wrecking ball. They still have the Atacon left up now. They get to take themselves the soul at 23 minutes. This is so clean from Karmine Corp.
You could eat your dinner off this game. It is spotless out here. I have seen
ult out.
An ult out. Vladi, not with the best angle on the wall, but it will be enough to stop Myrwn from pulling him off it. I suspect he gets to walk away. You know what? That's about as dirty as you got a slightly off-angled wall.
You dare doubt Vladi. Another super.
How can I do that?
Caliste.
Sorry about that.
How dare we doubt him. Vladi, of course, we got fond memories of him, watching him way back on Riddle in the NLC. Back in the ERL, so many of these players forward-faced against each other multiple times. Public execution.
Canna forces a flash out of Jojo, but he can keep Drake count stepping forwards. There won't be anything more but a flash blown on this Aurora, and it just feels everything MKOI have tried is completely countered, both on the side of the map they're on and on the other side simultaneously. It's ridiculous.
I mean, now Jojo doesn't have a flash for the next play. Of course, the Ambessa ult's going to be up a little bit quicker. Even Yoi's getting his caps taken by Canna. Wait, that's a 1v1 you don't want to take, I don't think.
Kai'Sa's going to be in range shortly. Will come flying on in. It's the first ult I think I've seen from Supa all game. We'll make it a Cathian rain, but pour one out for Canna because he just keeps walking away. He's heading to the bar. He's completely fine.
Also, that is definitely like a, just trust in me because Vladi could have TP'd to save Canna. Chose not to, knows his top lane is going to live. Another tower goes down. Another vial doesn't get what Movistar KOI want from them. They're trying to make plays. None of them have worked.
They are coming up absolutely empty. Karmine Corp on the other side. Everything they touch turns to gold. It's the Midas touch right now, and it does feel a bit mythological, this lead right now. 10.2k, not even got Baron spawned. They're breaking another inhibitor. They're still waiting to try and find a moment. Movistar KOI, I think it's a desperation play. It's a Hail Mary and pray and you find something at this point because everything else has failed.
2 inhibitors down at 25 minutes. A soul on top of that, and Atacon. They have 8 turrets to 0 and 9 to 1 in kills. This has not been a game. This has just been Karmine Corp just taking everything on the map. Movistar KOI have had very little to say in the conversation, and this vision control is absolutely disgusting too. The Kai'Sa W helps a bit. Yeah, there's one ward here just outside the Raptors, but that doesn't particularly fill you with much joy because you can't see the Baron going down right now.
And it is going down. Jojo's going to come across, and Movistar KOI have the unenviable job of making their way through their own red side jungle to try and contest. I just don't think they're going to have an opportunity. The Baron's going to go down. Can they find an option afterwards? The wall to deny 2 people coming across there.
Wait, the Poppy?
Nature's Grasp. Poppy looking for a slam into the Taliyah wall. Weaver's wall doesn't work. Alvaro now in danger, trying to run away. Flash on forward. Vladi gets that one on the other side. Elyoya goes into the backline. Supa tries to alter. They don't even find that. It is just another disaster of a fight. Karmine Corp can do no wrong, and Movistar KOI, it's back to the drawing board. Game 2 has to be on your mind now.
Build your own wall stun combo here. Vladi helps set up Targamas and helps put Movistar KOI into the dirt. There's a teleport towards the top side. A sapling is going to stop Supa from backing. He won't even get the joy of seeing the Nexus fall on his own screen.
Targamas throws down steadfast presence to force Supa to execute, and that's about the best you can get this game. The Nexus turrets are done, and Karmine Corp make a statement, and it is that we are here to demolish you. A clean, clinical game from the French team. The blue wall is 10 miles high.
Karmine Corp. Strike first in El Clasico. 1 death between them on the entire team, and that's on Targamas, who I think was absolutely stellar that game. This was not close. Both of these teams walked away, I think, with pretty convincing 2-0s yesterday. If anything, you looked at that late game from Game 2 of Karmine Corp versus Vitality, and you say, oh, well, maybe we'd have some worries about that. Absolutely none here in Game 1. Movistar KOI will have to go back to the drawing board and find some way to get themselves a better platform to play with.
Well, that was supposed to be a game. It was a statement, and it was Karmine Corp absolutely rolling Movistar KOI in Game 1. We're going to toss a break. The desk will break it down from there, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more to go from there afterwards.
What an incredible play there from...
Oh, that was incredible. You love to see it.
Right, yeah, let's really
What
get into...
a move! He's just so good. I mean, the persistence, the patience to find the angle. You just don't see that from rookies. I think he's got it all. He's got the bad.
Have a break. Have a Kit Kat.
Ooh, that looks good. Do you want to maybe share a little bit? Yeah.
What a move!
Red Bull gives you wings.